All right, for segment 2 today, we are going to Atlantis and not the Stargate version. We're going to Atlantis where they've got tentacle monsters with blind hot chicks that want to eat you. And I'm not sure which ones want to eat.
No, the former, not the latter, but yeah.
Okay. Well, but also in there is a market that he'll talk about later where you can get anything, including things that are probably verboten to say on YouTube now, but we don't care. We're going to talk about what's in the book. But before we do that, we're going to start off. We believe that role-playing games should take place in fantastic worlds. And can you get more fantastic than Atlantis?
No.
The focus of the game should be on role-playing and having a good time with slave girls. The core values of #RPGate and any good tabletop group are escapism, not representation. You can escape to Atlantis. You might not escape out of it, though. Entertainment over activism and natural organic inclusion, not forced diversity. And believe me, they will include you into the slavery. No holes barred, no favorites played there in Atlantis.
Full immersive experience.
There you go. Charity we support is the Wounded Warrior Project, a national nonpartisan organization whose mission is to honor and empower wounded warriors. Please refer to the description below for the link to where you can make your hopefully tax-deductible donation. And of course, there you go. Join us Thursdays and Saturday evenings on twitch.tv/Legion of Myth to watch Heathen Dog and his team of dirty casuals, which I'm so casual, I'm just a part-time casual. I'm half casual. What does that make me? Play multiplayer games for your mockery and enjoyment. And here on YouTube channel, you can watch these game-related segments live every Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Time, or check out the Friday Night Chill Stream, where our panel of guests opine, comment, and editorialize on the TTRPG hobby as a whole. As always, I'm going to do my best to sidetrack him and make him talk about other things than what's in the book. So subscribe for sidetracking.
Yay! Boo. All right. So we're going to talk about Atlantis. The island of Atlantis disappeared thousands and thousands of years ago. And with the resurgence of magic in this world, it came back. Now, everyone on there obviously was gone or dead or both. So it was procured by other forces. And I'm going to get into all that during the background, which I'm going to do right now. And we're going to start. No, where's the page? There it is. Page number. There we go.
Can you zoom in way on that?
We're going to, yeah, we're going to start with the Atlantis that was. This is original Atlantis with the Atlanteans. Duh. The continent of Atlantis was the location of, huge island, right? Location, one of the most prominent ley line centers on the planet, which enabled the Atlanteans to develop several forms of magic, open rifts, and explore other dimensions. Long story short, the Atlanteans are a progenitor or subspecies, not really defined, of humans. They are better. They live longer. They're stronger, smarter, faster. And they went to or were born in an area of high magic ability. They learned it really fast. They learned it really well. And they became masters of several types of magic. Stone magic, tattoo magic. These are very important things that the Splugor stole later on. But stone magic is creating pyramids on top of rifts to control magical activity along all the ley lines connected to that rift. Tattoo magic is putting magical tattoos on the body to increase the durability of the body and give you magical weapons or armor you can summon at a moment's notice. Touch the tattoo of a sword, you now have a sword in your hand, stuff like that. It's cool. It's awesome. The Atlanteans created it. They mastered it. Well, I don't know about created, but they mastered it. And I think it was given to him by a dragon, if I'm remembering correctly. But it's their thing. As a matter of fact, all Atlanteans have what they call the marks of heritage. I believe it's 2 or 3 tattoos they're given to as a child to mark their Atlantean heritage. So they all have them. And then they started to get all uppity. They started to get a little too big for their britches. What they do, they decided to experiment with rifts. Not normally. They've mastered the idea of opening a rift to another place in the same world, another place in the same dimension, and even in another dimension.
So hold up, say, how long ago was this?
Thousands and thousands of years ago. It's purposefully vague.
So wait. So Earth has always had rifts?
No. Magic has always been up until the Atlanteans ruined it.
Oh,
But
okay.
not super high levels of magic, Palladium fantasy levels of magic, SDC level.
Okay.
Okay. That's what this was. It's fine. It's fine. So they decided, no, you know what? We can make a super rift. We can make a single rift that'll open to, say, I don't know, 5, 10 different dimensions at the same time.
It
What
doesn't
a
sound
fun
smart.
experiment. Does this sound like fun to you?
No.
Not me either. But since they mastered the stone magic and they mastered rift magic, they figured, well, this is the next step. Right? So they tried it. It went horribly wrong. Horribly wrong. The rift they created was 10,000 times bigger than they wanted it to be. It filled a quarter of the sky.
It's like wormwood.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And it didn't go to 10, 5 or 10 different worlds. It went to hundreds of different worlds all at the same time. Things from 100 different worlds came through that rift. Dozens of demon dimensions.
Well, now we know how the dinosaurs went really extinct.
There, well, it's not that long ago, but okay, yeah. Vampire intelligences leaked into the world, right? It was bad. It was bad. It took them days to close it. But in doing so, they had to drain the magical energy from the planet to get enough oomph to close this giganto rift they made. Now, did magic disappear from the world all at once? No, it didn't. It slowly started to fade away after this point. It took 2,000 years, but at the end of that 2,000 years, magic was gone.
Oh.
Now, what happened to Atlantis? Well, during the initial rift opening, the Giganto Rift, horrible mistake rift, it set off kind of like a chaos earth type tsunamis and earthquakes and volcanoes erupting and dogs and cats living together, all that stuff throughout the entire planet. Well, half the planet. But Atlantis was at the eye of the storm, so it was the least affected in the area. Or so they thought at first. Now, as time went on, the hundreds of years went on, as magic was slowly waning, Atlantis would be struck with storms or earthquakes, stuff like that, off and on, but it's getting more and more frequent. As the magic was declining, Atlantis was getting worse and worse natural disasters. Why? Because when they opened this rift, it linked the whole continent of Atlantis to magic and Earth's ley line system. As the magic was decreasing, Atlantis, the continent itself, was getting weaker and weaker. Now, toward the end, it was getting so bad that a lot of people just left. They rifted to other dimensions. They left the continent altogether. They moved to the world at large. Now, this was very dangerous for the Atlanteans because while they've been there for thousands and thousands of years, they didn't really explore the Earth because they had rifts. They could open up they explored other dimensions. They didn't explore their own planet.
Yeah, forget the backyard. Let's go see what's way out there.
Exactly, right? So they didn't know a lot what was out there. And when they went out there, they saw these people who were freaking ruined by this giganto rift, just ruined. So they tried to help. This is how pyramids came to South America, how pyramids came to Egypt, how the pyramid technology was passed along. Now, how to work it was lost in time to these human people. But the technology used to construct it was passed to them by the Atlanteans. And then after 2,000 years, when magic completely left, so did Atlantis. From an observer looking down or across or whatever, looking at the continent of Atlantis, it looked like it sank into the ocean. But that's not what happened. What actually happened was when magic died from this world, the continent of Atlantis shifted to an alternate dimension, a pocket dimension, to stay there. Maybe forever. Well, turns out not be forever, because when rifts happened, when the cataclysm happened and magic came back to the world, so did Atlantis. Only it's been at least 6,000 to 8,000 years minimum since it was back. And all
Perfect
of the
tangent in chat said it could be up to 25,000.
could be up to. Yeah, it depends on what timeline you use. All depends on that. When it came back, it was a forested giant island continent. There was no more remnants of civilization readily visible from the surface, because the earthquakes and the tidal waves and all that stuff took care of all the buildings, and then the thousands and thousands of years it was in that pocket dimension took care of all the vegetation, just grew it up. But this happened right after the cataclysm. So no one was searching around for new continents at this point. They were saying, oh my God, what is that thing trying to eat my wife? They were worried about survival. They weren't worried about mapping, changing the Mercator map. Okay. They weren't worried about that. So the first beings to find this were supernatural origin, because they're the ones who had free reign for hundreds of years after the cataclysm. And sadly, the group that found it and took control of it were the Splugorth. One in particular, Splincrift, but I'm going to get into him a little later. Nowhere on Earth, with the arguable exception of Europe, do supernatural beings and DBs hold sway over the land so completely. Europe is infested with supernatural monsters, but humankind is fighting back. On the continent of Atlantis, no one's fighting back. The supernatural creatures are in control. They are the law. And the ruler of that place is the Splugorth. It is a Splugorth territory. Now, Splugorth, I've talked before, they are cousins of actual supernatural intelligences. They are no joke. They're a slaver race. They're like Hutts on steroids. They are no joke. And what this particular Splugorth did, Splincrift, he looked at this and said, this right here is the most magical portion of this entirely too magical world. I don't need to control the world. In fact, it would be too hard to hold all that territory with all these rifts popping up everywhere. But I can hold this place. I can secure this place because I have stone magic technology too. Because I stole it from the Atlanteans thousands and thousands of years ago. Because you can think of the Splugorth like a cross between Hutts and Gould from Stargate. Oh. They're slavers, they're rulers, they're despots, but they also mostly steal their technology rather than create it their own. Steal the magic rather than make it themselves.
Why work for whatever you can just grab?
Exactly. You just enslave a people and take their crap, and say it's yours. Anyone who says otherwise, you kill them. People will stop talking about you. That's how it works. So he created a whole city, the city of Splin, on the best part of the continent, and then use the rest of the continent to be kind of like a pleasure dome for supernatural beings. There's a forested reserve. There's fields for supernatural creatures to breed them, to sell them, to train them, whatever, all the whole place is used, except for a small portion on the northwestern side. But most of it is used for the betterment of Splincrift himself. And that's where Atlantis is now. It is a bastion of supernatural creatures and DBs, most of whom are transient, but some stay because there is a market there and there is a government.
Is there a permanent rift there, like Phase World?
No. There are several stone pyramids capping Nexi or Nexuses. I forget which one is a proper plural for that, and controlling the ley line energy, because you can't be a proper despot if you have, random crap happening all the time. No, control of the environment and then control of the people gives you control of everything.
Well, and he named the city after himself. So,
oh, well, yeah, that was no brainer, right? No brainer. So that's what Atlantis is now. Now you think, well, what happened to the Atlanteans? Why aren't they coming back? Well, the Atlanteans got their own problems. Number one, they felt supreme guilt for what they had done to the world because they did it. There's no getting around it. They had the pie in the sky idea and it wrecked the whole planet.
But they didn't have to tell anybody. There was nobody smart enough at the time to figure out that they did it.
I know. They're mentally weak.
Oh.
They blame themselves and they never got over it. Suck it up, Buttercup. They couldn't do it. So what happened? They spread across all dimensions. They no longer have a base of power that they call their own, and they don't have enough cohesiveness to take on Splincrift and retake Atlantis. They just don't have the manpower or the military structure to pull something like that off. They don't. The Splugorth are a slaver race. They have warrior minions that they spent hundreds and hundreds of years just augmenting their DNA with technomancy, biomancy. I'm going to get into biomancy in a little while, and just straight up genetic engineering to make them the greatest warrior slaves ever. It'd be hard to take Atlantis. Definitely hard. So they haven't done it. Plus, they got their own problems. Could
the mechanoids do it?
What's that?
Could the mechanoids take Atlantis?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. That was a quick guess.
Oh, it's easy. Yeah. Because there's millions of them and they never stop. But the thing is, they wouldn't take Atlantis because it is not for humans. It's for monsters.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Humans. Yeah.
They don't hate giant eyeball tentacle things. So they wouldn't care. They'd kill the rest of the planet.
Somebody needs to reprogram them to hate all flesh. All flesh must be eaten.
That would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, but at least you have the opportunity to say he did it and then run away where he's like,
Fair enough. But that is the background of Atlantis. Now, next, we're going to look at the Splugorth and Splincrift in particular. And you know what? I have, when I was talking about Phase World, I was talking about other books, I hinted that the Splugorth were no joke. And now you're going to see why. You're going to see a single individual Splugorth and why they are no joke in the next section.
All right, well, before we do that, I only have 3 comments starred.
Okay.
But you starred 1. Apparently, that cover is problematic.
Yes. The reason I started that is because Coco Shuko, if you say the P word again, I'm put you on a 5-minute timeout.
That's right. Heathen Dog does not like that P word.
I do not like the P word. What's next?
Also, how are true Atlanteans so long lived?
Well, it's a combination of genetic and magical component. Since they lived so many thousands of years at the Earth's center of magical energy, their bodies over generations have just absorbed this and it's changed them. And a normal Atlantean can live anywhere between 300 and 500 years, normal lifespan, and they'll look young doing it.
And then Brother Malachi says, "Oh, great. It's a Splugorth. I swear, it's always a Splugorth. And the bug's causing trouble. Or the vampire. I don't care if I sound bigoted. It's freaking riffs."
No. You can be bigoted about Splugorth bugs and vampires. That's fine. That's fine. Anyone calls you out on that, send the woke tart out first. That's how you do it.
All right, that's all I started. And yes, gnomes would be monsters.
That's true.